It was very different in Vietnam. Coming over here was quite a shocker. But, I was 7, so it wasn't as shocking as for other people. I was a refugee, and right after the Vietnam War ended, we stayed. And so she hatched up an escape plan with her younger brother and his colleagues who were in the Vietnamese Navy.
Mm.
And they prepared for it for months, maybe a year even, I don't know. And we traveled south, and then snuck out on a 25-foot fishing boat, hugged the west coast of Thailand, and finally um got on land because we stopped by a barge that gave us water because we were running out. And then they pointed us to where to go. And so we came upon a refugee camp in Thailand. We lived there for, I think, several months, and then moved to Bangkok. And then, that was when my mom applied for refuge as a refugee. I remember thinking the US was somewhere in the sky because I had no concept of the globe
Yeah,
and where
yeah.
things were. I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, it's up there in the sky somewhere. And then when we came here, it was a total culture shock. And I had an ESL teacher. We were at
Hmm.
Baptist country in South Carolina. We were very well cared for by the Baptist community that kind of took us
Mm.
in and tried to convert us and baptize us and all that. They would knock on my mom's door every weekend and
That's
say,
wild.
"Can we baptize your kids? Can we baptize you guys?" And my mom like points to the. So my mom is very much a Buddhist, and
Yes.
she's been a practicing Buddhist for a long time. And
Hmm.
so the only thing that she says that she carried with her on this escape was two clay figures, one of the Buddha and the other of the um, kind of like a deity, a female deity that belonged to her uncle in Vietnam who had already left and left those figures. So she wrapped them up and took them with us. And she believes that that is what got
Wow.
us to safety. I mean, my mom, I mean, none of the kids as kids are very religious. Um, she's been going to temple for a while, but I feel like, it's for her, like, that faith that things will turn out okay is what
Yeah,
she
yeah.
needed. I mean,
Hmm.
I guess that's what people turn to religion for a lot, is that,
Hmm.
somebody there is going to take care of you if you pray hard enough. And yeah, I mean, I have Buddhist figures all over my house because my mom gives them to me. And in some parts of me, it's sort of my part of my childhood
Yeah.
and my culture. So, you know,
Hmm.
my so I have them. And honestly, I am not an atheist, but I'm a bit of an agnostic.
Mm. Yeah.
Maybe I'm truly all agnostic. I don't know if I believe, but I'm very open
Hmm.
to understanding and learning from other people's experience and what they.
Yeah.
So, and my mom is totally open to it too, and maybe she believes in it more than I do, even because of, her beliefs. And so recently my mom recommended a couple other books. And there's one book you should totally read. It was very interesting.
So, the main thing that I'd like to point out in my analysis is how the simple action and social norm in the Western part of the world, especially in the United States, of feeling that it's okay to just knock on someone's door and sell them your product or tell them about something you need from them or tell them this is your religion, why they should follow it. That act of normacy around that behavior is something that I think is truly rooted in our Christian faith. That, you know, a majority of the United States is Christian, and in Christianity, in order to be considered a good Christian, one has to spread the word, and their faith gives them a sense of authority to be able to act in these ways in almost intruding space. And I bring this point up because if you remember earlier in the video, Lon talks about how when she was growing up in South Carolina, while the Baptist community was very welcoming, every so weekend they would knock on her mom's door and try to convince her mom to send her to Sunday school and convince her mom to convert her family to Christianity. And you can see how, while they may feel that they have just intentions under their faith and, their intentions are coming from a good place, in a way, they are invalidating Buddhism and invalidating differing opinions. Like, it isn't okay to them that, Lon's mother just has a different way of, interpreting life and has a different religion. And to speak to that, I was thinking about the contrasting nature of Eastern point of view of Buddhism, because in Eastern culture, East Asian culture, one is thought to think of themselves in relation to others, and intruding on one's space is considered very rude. There's a lot more self-reflection. And so I really don't think this social norm that we have would be something that would be a very big social norm in East Asian countries, and I'm sure that Lon's mom found this persistent nature to be quite frustrating. The Buddha also himself acts in a way of, I have found enlightenment, and if you would like to know about it, I can tell you about my experience, but everyone should act on their own experience, and everyone has to self-reflect in order to find their own enlightenment. So kind of opening the door up to more interpretation, saying, hey, look, you need to reflect and you should have more self-reflection before you act. And so I think this also plays a role into why more Eastern Asian cultures are more community focused, able to think about the community. And to diverge into my next topic on that is that what I found interesting is we got to see two real-life examples of Buddhism acting in two different ways. Buddhism acting as a religion and Buddhism acting as more of a philosophy for someone, because unlike a monotheistic religion like Christianity, Buddhism has the malleability to accept and allow people to take from it what they will and include more people because of it. And I think we should jump to when Lon was expressing how her mom was such a devout Buddhist. And on her voyage back to the United States, her mom said that the figurines of Buddha and a deist, another spirit, that while isn't defined as a god, some people who follow Buddhist teachings consider them in a way godlike, as the only reason that she was able to survive and her family was able to survive. And so because she was put in a time where she needed to rely on a religion, Buddhism represented that for her and is now representative in the strength of her faith for Buddhism as more of a religion, because she goes to temple and follows specific doctrines, etc. But then on the flip side, her daughter Lon, who grew up in this environment, in this Buddhist environment, even though in the US, has developed more of an agnostic interpretation, and while she recognizes spirits, doesn't consider herself a true Buddhist, but still practices principles and traditions from Buddhism. I mean, even meditation and mindfulness, she accounts to, starting that in her practice as a child, and also just the practice of taking off her shoes before she enters her home and respecting her home and respecting things. When I visit her, I have to take my shoes off before I enter the home, respecting elders, just these common themes that are then showing up. And for her, it's okay that she doesn't accept Buddhism as a religion, because she has the ability to accept it as more of a philosophy. And Christianity and monotheistic religions don't have that same flexibility. And it shows up in the religious tensions that we see in our country. And it shows up in the fact that Taoism, Confucianism, and Buddhism were all able to coexist, even though they were different, because there was room for interpretation and inclusion. And that about wraps up my analysis. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I want to say thank you, Lon, for the opportunity to let me hear your story, and see you later.